When we come back, a CNBC exclusive with U.S. Steel CEO Mario Longhi on the president's $1 trillion infrastructure plan. He's had a seat at the table in those White House meetings a few times. We'll be right back with Squawk Alley. Former Treasury Secretary Jack Lew speaking out about the future for American infrastructure last night. Take a listen.
The United States has an awful lot of capacity to build infrastructure. Where we lack the will is to pay for it. And if we could only figure out a way to pay for it, we would find lots of construction firms to do the work.
U.S. Steel CEO and a member of the U.S. Competitiveness Council, Mario Longhi, joins us now in a CNBC exclusive with more. Mario, nice to see you again.
Good morning, Sarah, John, and Kelly. Good to be with you.
So you've been inside a lot of those White House meetings with the president, have talked to him about infrastructure. What are you hearing and recommending the best way to pay for it, as for the former Treasury Secretary Lew's point about the difficult part of all of this?
Well, first and foremost, it's really very, very positive now that they are really speaking about the importance of infrastructure. I mean, you all are aware that we probably haven't addressed it in the past 5 decades. The civil engineers have just validated a D+ as a grade to our infrastructure, and the way in which I understand they are approaching it is an all-encompassing approach that is not just roads and bridges, but involving energy, etc. So I think it's a very positive thing. And one of the discussions taking place also involves the public-private partnerships that have been applied in so many different countries, and it seems to have been producing the necessary results.
So do you anticipate any federal dollars being spent on these infrastructure projects directly?
Oh, very definitely. The government will have a participation. There's no question about it.
Mario, I'm wondering, we were just talking with Deere CEO Sam Allen about the dangers of protectionism, especially as we see so much growth happening outside the United States, and a global company wants to be able to participate in all of that. Do you think the administration thus far has taken the right tack, balancing the argument for fair trade against accusations of protectionism, or would you like to see them adjust in any way?
Well, I, for myself, have been advocating the importance of fair trade in the globalized environment that we live in for quite a while. There is one problem that I see quite commonly when you discuss fair trade with the word protectionism. Protectionism, in many cases, is interpreted as protecting in terms of give me something that I don't deserve. I just need protection. The word protectionism, when it comes to the trade law, is really addressing fairness under the rule of law. And I think if everybody plays by the same rules, American companies have total condition to compete in equal terms and win its fair share. I mean, if you look at our business, for example, in steel, we do not in the country produce 100% of what we consume. So it's just natural that imports come in. The problem that we've had is with dumping. So I think the term fairness has to be interpreted under the rule of law. That's an essential element for global trade to really deliver the value for societies.
Mr. Longhi, how's the pipeline steel coming?
Well, unfortunately, the 2 pipelines that have been approved, they had already bought probably 95% of the steel that was going to be needed. But I think the initiative to try to give American companies a fair playing field that we can participate, we're fully capable of providing all the material that is required for the future ones that are going to be coming down the line.
Yeah, as I understand it, the reason why it was so interesting, the president decided, okay, I want these pipelines going forward built with U.S. steel. And I think at the time he kind of turned to you and said, right? And the question is, do we have the capability to actually do that in this country, not just for this particular issue, but as we talk about maybe onshoring a lot of manufacturing?
Oh, absolutely. The steel segments in the United States are fully capable, and given a fair playing field, we're going to be there to be able to participate in a fair, competitive manner to support the initiatives.
Does this deal exist, though, for the pipelines? Is it something you're working on?
Absolutely. We've had this capability for a long time. But when you're dealing with unfair trade in an environment where dumping has prevailed, it's pretty difficult to compete when you're competing in many cases against a country, not necessarily a company.
But I guess another way of asking Kelly's question, how realistic is it, given the fact that one of the first keystones that he approved, the Keystone XL pipeline, is not going to be requiring U.S. steel as was promised, American steel?
Well, again, I think in a fair playing field where dumping doesn't take place, we will be able to compete. And we have a high expectation that our level of competitiveness is going to allow us to win. I mean, we are here at the Council of Competitiveness having a discussion about, initiatives in infrastructure and all that. If you look at the ability to create the technologies that allow for us to not just improve, but improve at a pace that is required to compete, it's sitting around America. We have been leading this process. So given the fair playing field, I am sure that we can provide everything that is going to be needed for these projects.
Mario, I hear what you're saying about the fair playing field, but I wonder, as we extend that, the Trump administration has been talking about hire American, buy American, talking about contracts that the federal government is doing using American specifically products. With NAFTA up for renegotiation now, one of the things being looked at is this agreement that governments would take bids across the NAFTA zone from companies everywhere. If we're going to say countries should buy from companies internally, does that not hurt when you're trying to do business in Mexico, in Canada, in Asia, for example?
Well, the way I look at it, I want to see the real facts that are going to come out of these negotiations. And I think that is the moment where we're going to find out what conditions are going to be existing to allow for the buy American and the hire American to prevail. I also think that you have to understand that there are other initiatives come related to, the upgrade of our tax system, all of these initiatives that are going to make America more competitive. And once they are in place, I think that then we can have a better assessment of how that is going to go. But I look forward to seeing the context more factual so that we can make a proper assessment of all this.
Well, we know that the Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, has a long history in the steel industry, so I'm sure he is with you. Mario, thanks for joining us. Mario Longhi, the CEO of U.S. Steel from the Council on Competitiveness. He's also part of President Trump's Manufacturing Council.